Soul had several discordant endings that we will never be able to see. So today, we'll present you a compilation of all of them. Enjoy!
Ya llegamos
Y esto es...
al Preli.
Soul is an outstanding film that successfully connected with countless people. It managed to explore highly complex themes, such as the meaning of life itself, while also staying easy to grasp, making it enjoyable for the entire family. Maybe one of the most crucial elements in achieving this goal was its open ending, which successfully closes the film on an inspiring note. However, this ending where Joe comes back from the dead was not always set in stone. That's right. For all the sadists among our audience, there was a point where Joe did indeed lose his life.
Yes, excellent!
Dana Murray, the film's producer, mentioned in an interview with Entertainment Tonight that there was much debate within the production team regarding which ending they considered to be the most appropriate. For much of the film's development, the idea was that Joe Gardner would not come back from the dead, and it wasn't until the last moment that they decided to give him a second chance. Pete Docter, the director of Soul, shared his thoughts on this ending in another interview, this time with the news page USA Today. According to Pete, initially they considered that throughout the movie, Joe had already learned enough to appreciate the things he hadn't valued before. Because of this, their plan was for Joe to sacrifice his chance to return to Earth so that 22 could have her own opportunity to live. In fact, this act of kindness did happen to a certain extent in the movie, as Joe returned the Earth pass to 22 and was already willing to move on. However, Doctor notes that a large part of the film focuses on Joe learning a highly valuable and important lesson, to the extent that they felt they were depriving Joe of those learnings by not giving him another chance to put them into practice. But either way, can you imagine? Joe's lifeless body left alone in his house until someone found him in front of the piano on the very day he strengthened his friendships, made amends with his mother, and fulfilled his dreams with Dorothea. That would have been extremely sad.
Why? Why? Why?
If Joe had indeed died, there were plans to explore what was behind the massive energy orb known as the Great Beyond.
No! Harry, no! Don't look at the light! I can't help it. It's so beautiful.
In other words, unlike the previous ending where we would likely see Joe's soul simply dissipate, here we will follow the character to discover what lies on the other side. However, according to Pete Docter, the idea was quickly dismissed because, despite handling the subject respectfully and in an abstract manner, they realized they might run into issues when it came to depicting the Great Beyond. Consequently, they chose not to take the risk of sparking controversies, especially considering that, in the end, it wasn't something absolutely essential to the movie's storyline. Despite this, a small hint was actually provided regarding what the Great Beyond truly entails within the universe of Soul. According to the art book of the movie, the Great Beyond is a place beyond all that can be known, represented by a brilliant white light in a vast space, and what lies beyond that is all up to interpretation. Another major option that was considered if Joe couldn't return to his body was to leave him as a permanent mentor within the youth seminar. Ken Powers, the co-director of Soul, discussed this intriguing ending in his interview with Entertainment Tonight. According to Ken, Joe would become the best mentor ever, introducing new ideas to the system and revolutionizing it entirely. Despite all of this, Powers didn't explain how Joe ended up staying in the Great before. Our speculation is that, after witnessing Joe help 22 with her spark, the jurors would be deeply inspired and thankful. Thus, they would offer him the opportunity to stay and help even more souls find their sparks. Ken described this ending as very cute and funny, although not everybody liked it. However, it was an exploration of the character and the story that was worthwhile. Another aspect that was left open to the audience interpretation was the whereabouts of 22. In an interview with Den of Geek, Pete Docter mentioned that another ending they heavily considered was a reunion between Joe and 22 on Earth. Pete Docter, Ken Powers, and Dana Murray provided more details about this idea in the interview with Entertainment Tonight. In this version, Joe would continue to teach music and share his taste for freeform jazz.
Now you must acquire a taste for freeform jazz.
One day, Joe would hear a knock on the door, and a lady along with her daughter would enter the classroom. While the daughter initially complains to her mom that she doesn't really like the piano, her mother remains calm and patiently assures her that Mr. Garner will teach her how to play. According to Doctor, the girl would start doing small things that would suggest that she was 22, something that Joe would eventually notice. Nevertheless, this proposed ending never materialized. The idea that out of 7.8 billion people across 194 countries worldwide, 22 would end up in the body of a New Yorker just a few meters away from Joe didn't quite feel satisfying.
Coincidence? I think not!
Additionally, even if Joe had been able to recognize 22 by her personality, she would likely be all like, "Stay away from me, old man," since she wouldn't remember any of the events that occurred in the movie due to her birth. Another discarded ending would focus on Joe and Dorothea. After reflecting on what truly matters in his life, Joe decides to continue pursuing his passion for music, performing, and touring alongside Dorothea Williams, all while giving private piano lessons on the side. Unfortunately, we don't know much more about this ending. However, according to Ken Powers, Joe would also reunite with 22, who will have been his student. While the idea of Joe at 22 coincidentally meeting in New York didn't strike the writers as believable enough,
I don't know, Rick. It looks fake.
this doesn't mean they didn't attempt to reveal 22's whereabouts in another part of the world. The staff knew that many people would be eager to discover what happened to her after arriving on Earth. In the aforementioned interviews, the writers revealed that they had storyboarded another ending that depicted 22 as a child in India. Details about this alternate ending are scarce, but just like the previous one, the crew felt it wouldn't be emotional or satisfying enough, prompting them to completely discard the idea. Even though we don't have a definitive answer to 22's fate, fans have made many theories on the topic. Many of you might already be familiar with the infamous Pixar theory, which proposes that all movies from the studio coexist within the same universe. The theory is somewhat complex to explain, but based on its premise, some suggest that 22 could have become Colette from Ratatouille due to their similar personalities, or perhaps Riley from Inside Out, given that Pete Docter was also the director of that film. In the interview that Pete Docter had with Dan of the Geek, he revealed that the last line that Joe says in the movie about what he plans to do with his second chance at life used to be, "I'm going to enjoy every moment of it," instead of "I'm going to live every minute of it." Although this is a relatively subtle change, it conveys a completely different message. Life is filled with both good and bad moments, and it's not always possible to enjoy each one. However, one can accept the ups and downs and move forward, living every moment of the opportunity granted by being alive. According to Doctor, this is a much more realistic goal for Joe to pursue. After watching Soul, did any of you wonder, "Hey, where's Perry?" Oh, wait, no. "Hey, where's Dr. John Borgenson?" Well, Pete Docter revealed that there was an answer to this question planned within the movie. Initially, there were going to be some humorous scenes involving the character, similar to how 22's mentors were depicted. For instance, he will be shown somewhere alone, wondering what the heck happened since he got lost in the Great Before due to Joe stealing his identity. According to Docter, one of the storyboard artists on the team suggested an entirely different story from what we actually saw, where John had a more significant role in the plot. In this version, John, still alone, would accidentally be pushed through the Earth portal, ending up inside everyone's favorite character, Mr. Mittens. While it would have been interesting to learn what happened to the character, this would have significantly changed what we saw on the screen. Therefore, Pete Docter mentioned that they were unable to make this premise work within the film.
But hey,
At least we had some laughs, right?
That's right, this is what everyone was waiting for. A resolution for the best character in Pixar's history, Mr. Mittens. As we all recall, when Joe took over the cat's body, he went straight to the great beyond. However, when Joe returns to his own body, Mr. Mittens is still alive and well. While no cats were harmed in the making of the film, the question remains, how is this possible? According to a tweet made by Ken Powers back in 2021, there was going to be a post-credit scene in the movie that would revolve around this curious kitty. Essentially, the entire scene in question would show us how Mr. Mittens managed to return to his body, given the common belief that cats have 9 lives. Despite the scene being fully storyboarded, it was ultimately removed because it was deemed inconsistent with the tone of the film. To close this video, we want to discuss why the final ending that everyone saw in the movie was chosen, among all the options we previously discussed. These reasons are diverse and are mentioned throughout all the interviews we reference in the video. The Doctor stated that he has always been a big fan of open endings, something that has been evident since Monsters, Inc. So now you know who to blame for not seeing Boo at the end of the movie. Regarding Joe specifically, the goal was not to impose a decision about his own future, regardless of what he chooses to do next in his life, whether he's teaching, playing with Dorothea Williams, or reunited with 22, he will come to appreciate his life much more after all the events he has gone through. According to Doctor, it is more beautiful and powerful to leave the future of the characters open to interpretation of the viewers. While there may be people who disagree with this perspective or don't like this type of open-ended endings, ultimately it encourages the audience imagination, empowering them to personally decide in their own headcanon what the future holds for the characters they have become fond of by the end of the film. If you like this video, please subscribe and watch this other video of ours where we talk about the prequel short of Soul. We love you! Bye!